Well, today we kick off this brand new series called You Asked For It, based on topics and questions that you gave us back at Easter that you wanted to hear about. And this is my encouragement to you. That's why there's invite cards on your seats again today. If these are questions and topics that are on your mind, there are also questions and topics that are on the minds of people that you know and care about, many of whom probably need a relationship with Jesus, need a good church to get plugged into. So we encourage you over the next several weeks, use these invite cards to invite friends and family, neighbors and co-workers, them here so that they can hear these very, very important topics addressed as well. Well, today we kick off this series answering the question, where is God when it hurts? Because we live in a world that's unfortunately full of pain, that it doesn't matter if you're black or white, male or female, rich or poor, got a great job or just an average job, whether you've got a family or no family, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. We all live in a world where we experience hurt and pain, and just the events that unfolded yesterday in Stillwater or again an all too familiar reminder that senseless tragedy and pain exists around us every day. And one of the things I love about the Bible is the Bible's not silent. The Bible doesn't shy away from this very important topic of pain and suffering. So I've invited my good friend Doug Everard, and as he shares his story this morning, you'll understand why we invited him to speak into this very important subject. So Doug, if you'll come at this time, let's give a Genesis welcome to Doug Everard this morning.
Thank you, Pastor Brian. It's good to be here today. I want to do this. It's good for our pastors to have a little bit of a break. I realize there's some of you may be coming and like, wait a second, I thought Pastor Brian was going to preach today. Maybe you were here last week and you realized, well, he's not preaching. It's good for pastors to take a little bit of a break. So can we do this? Because I'm sure they don't get this all the time from the microphone because they're the ones up here doing it. But can we just honor, Pastor Brian and Serena and just tell them how much we love them by clapping for them? Brian, we appreciate you. I'm sure Serena is back working somewhere, maybe on the other side, maybe back there. So I love you guys very much. It's an honor to be here today and be with you guys. Really look forward to just kind of sharing God's heart this morning. This is a challenging subject that we're talking about. Before we get into that, I just want to talk a little bit about myself. My name's Doug Everard. My wife's name is Jill. We've been married for 22 years now. I do not wear my wedding ring. I've noticed that girls look at that. Ladies always kind of comment on that, so always need to give comments. Sometimes I wear it, sometimes I don't. The reality is that my flesh grew around my wedding ring years ago, and so I had to cut it off. Okay, because it was cutting off circulation to my brain. I thought it was to my finger, but it seemed like it was to my brain too. I'm not sure it helped. But so I don't wear a lot of jewelry. But I love my wife, okay? I'm getting ready to start 23 years this year. I got married when I was 20 years old. We went, to check into the hotel, and I don't know if it's changed, but, I was 20 years old, and so I made the hotel arrangements. But when we got there, I walked up and was checking us in. He's like, "I'm sorry, sir, you're underage." He says it out loud. Of course, my wife, she's like 2.5, 3 years older. And so I turn around and I'm like, "Babe, would you check us in?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh." I really felt like a man. Got a 15-year-old son. I'm 6'4", he is 6'3". I weigh right at 300. He weighs 175 pounds, but I'm starting to feel his strength. And I told my wife, I said, I feel like I'm going to have to start beating him or something physically, because he's starting to take advantage of his dad. Any dad, you ever done that? You ever had to do that? Is that okay to do? Yeah, kind of beat him down a little bit, just make him realize, hey, I'm still father. I have a dog. Now, I'm really excited about this dog. Now, this is going to sound really sissy, but I don't care. Our dog's name is Peyton. My son named her after Peyton Manning because he is a big Denver Bronco fan. He hates the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, I think sometimes he's a Denver Bronco fan just because everybody around him is a Dallas Cowboy fan. I don't have a favorite. Now, I'm a big, longtime OU fan. We've had season tickets since the 1950s in our family, so I follow the Sooners in the NFL. So I'll be cheering for the Dallas Cowboys because DeMarco Murray's on there. My son comes, Dad, what are you doing? You're cheering for the Cowboys. I go, no, son, I'm just cheering for the OU players. Okay. I guess that's okay. So he names our dog. She's a teacup Yorkie. She literally is the size of my foot, which is a size 14. I've stepped on her twice, and she has survived. Did you know that they make dogs that are hypoallergenic now? Now, what that means to a guy like me who was raised out in Mustang, Oklahoma on 5 acres with animals and all kinds of stuff, when you get older, you're like, I'm done with animals. Like, we had 10 cats that died in our swimming pool over the years. We had multiple dogs. My mom ran over one dog. I'm not hating on animals. I'm just done with taking care of animals. But my wife says they're hypoallergenic. I go, you mean like they don't smell and they don't shed? She's like, exactly. And our dog does not smell. Like, when I get home, she's going to be excited to see me, and I just take her and just go, that's why I love you, Peyton. She doesn't shed. And, we have concrete floors. I'm convinced in our home, I don't know that I'll ever, as long as we have concrete floors, I will have pets. The minute we go back to carpets, no more pets because it's just an easy mess, easy cleanup. My wife's parents are on vacation right now, so we're dog sitting for them. This is a bigger version of our dog. The dog's name is Raven. She was taken out of a kennel, out of a shelter, but she is scared of men. Like when I walk into the room, literally, this is not an exaggeration, she will run out. Apparently, she was beaten or something, maybe by a dude. She loves ladies, but she will not. But she's kind of been warming up to me. There's been a few moments when she's come by because I've just tried to pet her. But I'm really torn because she is going to the bathroom everywhere. The OU game started at 2:30 yesterday. I was in my house shoes, which, by the way, ladies, great Christmas present for your dude. Uggs makes house shoes. They are expensive, but they are awesome. So get your husband a pair of Uggs for Christmas. So I got my Uggs on. I'm watching the game, and I step right in the pile of poop that the dog left. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm ready for this dog to go. Thankfully, they come off of vacation today. My hope is when I return home to Mustang, Oklahoma here in an hour or two that the dog will be gone. So we'll see. Most of the time we preach to students. Most of the time we spend traveling around the state of Oklahoma. The title that has been given us is called District Youth Director for the Assemblies of God Churches. There's about 480 churches in the AG, and we represent those churches. We deal primarily with student ministry, with young adults, and just absolutely having a great time doing it. We're finishing up our 8th year of that, going on our 9th year, and so it's been a blast. What that means is we put on camps. We go and speak to youth groups. We just do all kinds of events for students. In fact, we finished one up last week. I was here with you guys last week, kind of hopefully hiding incognito. Brought Mike Miller in, who was your guest speaker last week. He was speaking at our convention. We had over 1,000 students there. So it was this massive event. It was a lot of fun. It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And what we do at these events is we make up T-shirts because the students sometimes they like to, drop $10, get a T-shirt, remember the event. So we made these T-shirts up. Now, what you have to know is that I have lost 60 pounds since March. Yeah, thank you. The first service didn't clap. They just stared at me. I was like, you can clap. You guys got it. So I've worked really hard on this. So I was well over 300. I'm right at 300 now, working on 270. So I still wear a 2X to a 3X on most of my clothes. But I was wearing a 4X. I decided, because you never know about clothes anymore because the cotton, the style, even though it says that size, how many of you know what I'm talking about? You got to try it on. Okay, my wife comes home all the time. So, I got this. So I just go, did you try it on? No. So she goes and tries it. It doesn't fit. I go, you need to try it on. It doesn't work that way. You can't just say, here's my size. There's too many different things out there that just messes it up. So we got our T-shirts made. I got my T-shirt. I ordered a 4X. And I thought, this is perfect. It's going to be a little big, but that's okay. They shrink up. I put my T-shirt on before the event to try it on, make sure I'm looking good. So I got it on, and it comes down to right here, which I'm touching my belly button. And so just a little bit, you can just see my tummy, like right underneath. I'm like, oh. Now, how many of you have ever tried to stretch a shirt, one of your favorite shirts that you love? Raise your hand and be honest, okay? So my wife is an expert at doing that. She says, give me the shirt. I'm going to wash it again, but don't dry it this time, and I'll stretch it. And I'm like, okay. So she does that. She gets it stretched. I come home. I try it on that evening, and guess what? I put it on, and it hits me at the same spot again. So needless to say, I was dejected. Let me just say this. Unlike my T-shirt, hopefully over the next month, we can be stretched in our walk with God, in our faith, and in our relationship with God. The topic that we have today, quite honestly, is tough. Where's God when it hurts? We have pat answers in church sometimes. We have this, we have that. In fact, I was reflecting as I was just kind of really trying to get the mind of God and what he wanted to say and just this message today. I was just thinking about over the years of ministry. We've been in ministry a little over 20 years. I'm 43 years old now. We started in Mustang, Oklahoma. I remember interning there at the church, and the pastor said, hey, I want you to go take care of this hospital call. He knew that I walked in relationship with that family. I knew the family really well. Little did I know that when I got to the hospital, the dad passed away, had just passed away. I literally walked in with this family sobbing just over this man. And I'll never forget just the moments there that God gave me through the Holy Spirit of words to say. I don't even remember what I said. But I remember feeling that pain in that room as a young 20-year-old and thinking, you know, as much as this hurts, and this is what I was called to do, was to walk with people. We moved to Houston, Texas, and we're youth pastors there for 4 years. I'll never forget the moment when I got the phone call from the family. The young man was a young adult. He just came out of high school, was a young adult, had some military background. He took a girl out that had been coming to the church, and wrong decisions were made. He made some decisions with her that he shouldn't have done physically, ended up taking advantage of her, and then took the gun, turned it on her, and then took his own life. I remember walking up to that car, seeing the family there, and just looking at this hurt and this pain and going, oh my God, where are you? What do we do? Remember moving to Ponca City, Oklahoma. We were youth pastors there for 8 years. And our senior pastor was out of town, and I got another phone call. A young couple in church, young Hispanic couple, just great family, played basketball with the dad. And he called me, he said, my wife is in the hospital. She's in a coma. I said, oh my goodness, what? And they found a tumor on her brain. She never woke up again. She passed. They pulled the plug. I remember being there with the family and helping make that decision and walking with them and watching them as they cry out in pain and just going, where's God? I'm not sure I had adequate answers in that moment at that time. I'm not sure I have them now, but have been down the road a little bit. But I can see where God, in showing me that pain and showing me people's pain and walking with people as a pastor, I can see where he was setting me up because of just the own pain that I would go through. Just like many of you have dealt with sin, dealt with pain in my life, brokenness, many things that Pastor Brian knows you deal with as a pastor on a daily basis. People, that's many times why people come to churches, because they're broken. They're looking for answers. Maybe some of you today, you're waiting for that answer that answers, where is God when it hurts? But it seems like none of that could prepare me for the pain that my family would step into. It's been 3 years ago now since we lost our little son to cancer. He was first diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma, which was a softball-sized tumor in his tummy. Immediately we started treatment. Literally the next week, the next 2 days, we were at OU Medical Center, just going through all the different treatments, chemo, everything you can imagine that we were putting into our son to save his life. But we knew the reality at stage 4 in many cases is a death sentence. But we also knew of miracles and knew where God could touch people and heal them. Walking this out for 2 years, we poured more into those 2 years than most people do in their lifetime with their family. You know, Pastor Brian, I'm thankful that I have no regrets there, that we walked that out with our son. I'm thankful for my boss and my job that allowed us that opportunity to do that. But there came a certain point when my wife and I both knew that we just sensed that our son was not going to be healed. But the reality was, if we really believe this thing, if we really call ourselves Christians and trust the Lord and trust that God has a better plan and trust that we're living on planet Earth and things aren't perfect here, that for our son to go to heaven, that is the ultimate healing. Because after all, isn't that where I want my family to be? If I call myself a minister, well, forget about that. If I call myself a Christian, isn't that where I want all people to go? But that doesn't change the fact of the pain, of the hurt, of the anguish, of the brokenness. It seems like even now, quite honestly, my family is enrolled in this school of pain. As I speak, my mom sits at home in her bed, lays at home in her bed in Mustang, Oklahoma. She is currently fighting liver cancer, which, if there's not a miracle, that cancer is going to take her life. My wife's best friend, Erica Knight, is battling stage 4 breast cancer. And it's so great that we almost laugh and go, seriously? God, are you serious? Can we breathe just a little bit? Have just a little bit of normal life? I mean, God, this is almost overwhelming to the point. The pain is so great. Just losing our son. But let alone now, we're still fighting this fight with family members and with friends. Where's God when it hurts? I was in Ulaga, Oklahoma Wednesday night, speaking to a group of students. The leader brought us in. He said, I want to do something different.